The UN Global Compact Network Nigeria is focused on Nigerian businesses making more concrete commitments to sustainability. According to the 12th United Nations Global Compact Accenture CEO study launched at the Davos 2023 World Economic Forum back in January, 43% of CEOs agree that geopolitical instability has set back their sustainability efforts. Now, the survey also found that 98% of CEOs now unequivocally feel it is their role to make their businesses more sustainable. So let's take a look at the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We've got no poverty, we've got zero hunger, we've got health improvements, quality education, and the likes. So the whole number of them, 17 in total. We're going to be talking about that with our next guest. Joining us from New York City to discuss further, Naomi Nwokolo, who is the Executive Director, UN Global Compact Network Nigeria. Good morning to you. She's also the chair of the African Regional Network Council, United Nations Global Compact. So thank you so much for joining us, Naomi. So looking at the results of that UN Global Compact study with Accenture, 43% of CEOs saying that their sustainability efforts are impacted by geopolitical instability. Isn't that an excuse? I mean, why would the war in Ukraine, for example, impact the CEO in Nigeria that wants to achieve gender equality or improve water sanitation?
Thank you so much for having me. So the war in Ukraine by Russia, which has been raging since February 2022, as we all know, has affected not only the people and businesses in Ukraine, but it's also having a significant impact on the rest of the world. And Nigeria is really not an exception. So a CEO in Nigeria that wants to achieve gender equality or improve water sanitation, as you say, will be impacted by the war in several ways. For example, Nigeria imports raw materials for fertilizers, wheat, herrings, blue, white, and even vaccines from Russia and Ukraine. But the Black Sea ports are currently struggling to ship agricultural commodities. So the price of imports from other suppliers is rising. Now, Nigeria faces threats to its already precarious food security situation, and the surge in commodity prices and the food supply chain disruption is a challenge to CEOs who rely heavily on these for their business operations. So a CEO will be more interested in really keeping his company afloat. Now, in mid-2020, Nigeria experienced a drastic hike in the cost of refined petroleum products, which are imported and not subsidized in Nigeria. So the surge in the landed cost of refined products is a major pain for businesses. Now, SDG investments, which should have gone into implementing gender-centric policies or building effective water management systems, will now be diverted into servicing the increased operational cost of the business. And like you referred to our 12th United Nations Global Compact and Accenture CEO study, it was really highlighted that, alarmed by the speed and scale of today's unprecedented global challenges, that CEOs are finding themselves at the crossroad. Should they embrace sustainability for a resilient future or suffer the consequences? And it will interest you to know that 98% of CEOs say that it is their role to make businesses more sustainable. And they totally support that as businesses, they have the opportunity to not only build resilience, but to unlock growth by embracing sustainability and contributing to really a sustainable future.
All right, so that's the stat. We have it on screen for our viewers. The survey is one thing. Saying you want to take responsibility is one thing, but what about the action? I mean, are you seeing that with respect to them taking the necessary actions to, get to where the sustainability goals that are out there from the United Nations?
Well, I'd speak to the work that we do with the UN Global Compact and the private sector in Nigeria. As of March 2023, we have over 130 companies that are participants of the UN Global Compact. And these companies represent a wide range of sectors and company size. So the voluntary participation of Nigerian CEOs in the United Nations Global Compact, I think, is a positive sign that Nigerian businesses are committed to taking responsibility for the SDGs and responsible business, and they are willing to create a more sustainable and equitable future. For example, specifically, in November of 2022, during the COP27 in Egypt, 8 Nigerian corporations were among the 56 corporations that signed the climate statement for the Africa Business Leaders Coalition. We have Flour Mills, Access Bank, Capel Hill, Airtel, Jumia, and First Bank of Nigeria, and the rest of them. So you can see that these businesses represent more than $140 billion in revenue and over 900,000 employees across 50 African countries. So you want to ask, what is the climate statement of the Africa Business Leaders Coalition? Now, the climate statement includes includes commitments around adaptation and resilience, a just transition that the world is talking about, and mitigation, and calls to action for the international community to support the African continent in their endeavors. So you see, when businesses begin to take up, sign these statements and commitment and take up responsibility to reduce their science-based to reduce their emissions and really set science-based targets, it shows that they are interested and they are taking responsibility. And we see a lot of CEOs in Nigeria have also adopted some of the sustainable development goals. They adopted Goal 4 of the SDGs. They are taking actions on ending poverty by improving living wage. So I'll say, if I speak to the report, our impact stories from our businesses in the Global Compact, they're taking responsibility. There's more to be done, but we have to commend them so far for the work they have done.
All right.
They really are.
Okay, so that's encouraging. Let's talk supply chains. Can you tell us about the Sustainable Supplier Impact Program, SSIP? What's that about?
Okay, so we know that a lot of the sustainability issues really are prevalent in the supply chain. So in the Global Compact, we have what we call our UN Global Compact SME strategy. And this is what bettered the supply chain, the Sustainable Supplier Impact Program. So sustainability action, we know, is required beyond internal company operations and is needed across the entire supply chain to achieve impact at scale. And according to the MIT State of Supply Chain Sustainability Report, it will surprise you to know that the stakes for CEOs have never been higher, and 60% of leaders across business functions are reporting that the level of pressure that they face from their investors to advance supply chain sustainability has moved from moderate to very high. So the Global Compact then bettered the Sustainable Supply Impact Program. It was developed by us in partnership with Accenture to advance supply chain sustainability through upskilling participants on social and environmental topics. So the Global Compact in Nigeria has partnered with Dangote Group. And what we want to do is really train through this partnership. We are going to work with Dangote Group to drive sustainability by design across their supply chain. And it's also facilitated by incentives and ecosystem network and development of learning capacity for SMEs. So in the next 5 months, a subset of the Dangote suppliers will be equipped to become exponentially more sustainable, achieving global impact. And we're happy to say that Nigeria is one of the countries in the Global Compact that are currently running this program, including India, alongside India, Kenya, Spain, and also at the global level. So you want to ask, like, what is the takeaway and what is the benefits of what would Dangote suppliers benefit from this SSIP program? So at the end of the program, I want to see that suppliers have gained an understanding of how to action key sustainability topics. Importantly, they will have access to incentives that will be provided by Dangote as a reward for participating in the program. So the supply chain of Dangote will now have a better prospect of achieving sustainability at scale as a result of the collective action from their suppliers. So we do not want to leave anyone behind.
All right, so it's 2030, I think, is just, 7 years away, right? We've got the 17 UN goals, reducing poverty, increasing water sanitation. Do you think any of these can be achieved by 2030?
Well, unfortunately, the world is not on track to achieve all the SDGs. And as a matter of fact, we are halfway to the target, and we must not lose hope. So yeah, there have been unprecedented challenges like the COVID-19, the Russia-Ukraine war I mentioned earlier, and the everyday increasing and glaring effects of climate change. So the threats to peace, justice, and strong institutions with overturn of government, energy crisis, among others. But we're not on track, but we have to focus on the progress that has been made so far and the actions that must be taken to accelerate progress towards the SDG. So, but despite these challenges, with a particular focus on Nigeria, Nigeria's private sector has a lot of potential to promote ethical business and realize the SDGs and ultimately, guarantee a more equitable future for our citizens. So that's why the UN Global Compact will continue to call on businesses to set realistic targets for the Sustainable Development Goals and also, take actions to promote responsible business practices.
Well, thanks for your honesty. At least we appreciate you at least honestly acknowledging that getting there by 2030 may not be possible. What is your advice, final question, your advice to companies who are still undecided about adopting corporate sustainability practices in their operations?
Well, I would say do not be left behind. The stakes are high, and every business must think and practice sustainability. I will advise Nigerian businesses to begin by establishing clear sustainability goals. And if you're new, if you're not yet in the sustainability space, we encourage you to join. And if you're already in the space, we encourage you to continue to advance your journey. But the UN Global Compact, that is what we do. We're literally the Netflix of sustainability in the world, and we continue to unite businesses for the SDGs. So because to realize the vision of a very prosperous, thriving, and advanced future for the business and the country, Nigerian businesses must embrace and become really strong pillars of sustainability and responsible business practices. They have a crucial role to play. The business case for sustainability is very clear and is not arguable. So we continue to call on businesses to take actions and become part of accountable companies and ecosystem that enable change. So please join us in our journey for the SDGs and responsible business practices globally.
All right, great stuff. Okay, but what about the local chat? I said final question. We have a little bit more time. Just before you came on, we spoke with the president of the Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria. They're facing all types of challenges. Last week, we spoke to somebody looking at the poultry sector. Businesses in Nigeria are facing all types of challenges just to survive. Can they do both? Can they struggle to survive, to keep their workers, stay above water, and also meet these sustainability goals? Do you think they can make that a top priority along with survival in Nigeria?
So when we talk about sustainability, it's good for business, just like I mentioned the business case for sustainability. But the thing, there is no doubt that SMEs need support to tackle the most challenging barriers that they face. For example, like the previous speaker spoke, we have issues of the lack of sustainability proficiency. There's inadequate access to resources. There's also limited collaboration. So what can businesses really do? We have to focus on learning and capacity development, which the Global Compact offers. And then we look at providing supplier incentives, such as funding opportunities, capital advisory support, project implementation support, and conditional funding. So we have this action and reward approach. We help both the suppliers and the large businesses as they both work towards achieving the SDGs. So it's not nobody. We understand the challenges they face, but let's look at the opportunities and how we can move forward from there and get everybody involved.
Naomi Nwokolo, who of course Executive Director, UN Global Compact Network Nigeria. Thank you so much for talking to us about sustainability. Very, very important topic. We appreciate your time.